Tabor. We're going to be talking slate. Good day yesterday for me. Cashed in every big tournament and every slate, so that was nice. Didn't quite get the big win, but it's nice to I don't know, nice to have a little almost a triple up day. So that was nice, nice little run. But want to get the big one soon. Cheats, how'd you do? And then any overall thoughts before we jump in the slate?
I did not do well, but I'm ready to move on for today. And I do have a thought for today. So, and it involves a particular player, and it's something that it's really important to remember. And I'm going to give a little history. So, in the NBA, it must have been it was either 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Gordon Hayward was out with an injury for quite some time, and they weren't exactly sure when he was coming back, but they had an idea. Meanwhile, he came back from his injury and was his first start back. They mentioned that it was going to be no minutes restriction or anything like that. But DraftKings priced him at $3,000. Okay, they just were not used. You know what I mean? Like they priced him at $3,000 for the whole season because they knew he wasn't going to be playing, and so they just forgot. You know what I mean? To just stay on top of it. And they made him $3,000. Basically, made him like the biggest lock I think in the history of DFS that I've been watching, right? Because in the NBA, you give a guy 34 minutes or whatever he was going to play at 3K with his usage, he's gonna get there about 100% of the time. Like not 100, really, but like 90, 95% of the time he'll get there. And he was like 80% owned or whatever it was, and he got there. So you fast forward to today. You have Fernando Tatis, who was suspended for I guess a year or whatever for a PID, whatever. And he is actually coming back today. And they announced it like a couple of days ago. So they had time. They had time to adjust this, but DraftKings kept Fernando Tatis at $2,000. Okay. So you're getting Fernando Tatis, who's usually like a $6,000 player, at $2,000 coming back. And I bring it up for this reason. I'm not saying whether I'm going to play him or not. We'll get to that later. But the point is this: the big difference in baseball and basketball. See, he is just as good of a price at 2K as Gordon Hayward was at 3K, but the chances that he gets there is remarkably less than Gordon Hayward because of the way results distribute. 30% of the time he is going over today. You know what I mean? So where a grand total of 0% of the time Gordon Hayward was going over. You know what I mean? So it is something to think about when you're thinking about baseball and the way results distribute and the way chalk works and stuff like that. Is that baseball is a bunch of zeros, followed by some good results. So chalk is just different in baseball than it is in basketball, and I just wanted to use that as an example of that.
Yeah, I think that makes I totally agree with you. If somebody's going to end up being 60% owned in baseball, even on a 5-game slate, it's going to be very hard for me to play them. All right, let's get into it. And just a reminder for everybody, the slate locks at 6:30 tonight, not at 7. So we will be live, or I'll be live anyway at 5:30. Sheets, are you going to be around?
I am going to be around at 5:30 for the. Yep, I will be. I did that.
All right, so we'll see you guys at 5:30 to do the before lock, and we'll talk a little NBA as well. So in this first game, I think that you have like the Cincinnati-Pittsburgh game. Contreras is probably one of the top pitching options. For me, I actually think I like him better than what I think that the site is even projecting him. He feels like a guy who might end up being 50% owned, or I thought would be. And if he's not, I think that's probably a mistake. Cincinnati gets a huge park downgrade as they go to Pittsburgh, although it is 80 degrees in Pittsburgh. And I like the idea of playing Contreras here. I don't think I can get to the Weaver idea. I still don't know where he's at, coming off the IL and then his limited pitching over the last couple of years. So the Pirates are certainly going to look playable for people. I will avoid the Pirates after the coming off the Coors trip. So I'm going to be avoiding bats in this game most likely and playing Contreras as one of my pitchers.
So I'll give you another kind of overall view on this slate. I mean, yes, it is only a 5-game slate, but you'd expect there to be like some good pitching.
Right.
And the pitching is just atrocious. I really feel it's possible that the winning lineup could have 10 points total out of their pitchers. You know what I mean? Like or something like that. But I think I agree with you in that Contreras, at least according to my numbers, is just clearly the best play. And the ownership I'm getting is about 35%. It looks like, and I mean, I don't know if that's right. Look, I guess people are going to play the Mets guy, and I guess he's going to be. I guess will be higher in the big buy-ins, I suppose, but I don't think he'll be that much higher in the regular stuff. I don't know. Anyway, he's clearly my best play. And I am not getting to any of the hitting here, actually. No Cincy and no Pittsburgh.
Yep, we're on the same page there. Same page with the hitting. So, all right, so we can move on to Colorado, Philadelphia. Why don't you just start us off here?
Yeah, I think that if you want an SP2, I think it's really either SP2. If you want a second pitcher, it's either going to be Senga or like a coin flip between every other pitcher on the slate. And so I'm going to put Strom and may as well Feltner. You know what I mean? Like into the coin flips. I just really have no idea who to play as my second pitcher. But what I do want is Philly as one of the main stacks on the slate. And I got four main ones, and one of them is Philly. So I do like Philly and coin flip the pitchers.
Yeah, and the interesting thing to me is that, like, at least at the early projections, don't have Philly at that for a 5-gamer, I thought they'd be a little more popular than this. So I totally agree that Philly is on there, and I have Strom on my list. I don't think I'm going to end up using him, but whatever. I don't think I can quite get to the Feltner thing. I just don't see the reason to today, but I do have Philly as very, very reasonable. And I think that there are plenty of ways you could stack them. I mean, because of Baum's price and where he's batting in the order, he'll be lower owned. Brandon Marsh will be lower owned because of his price, and you're going to want people will play the other outfielders they play there. I think Castellanos will be looked at as overpriced. So you can definitely get different even within a Philly stack that's not going to have as much ownership as I thought, but still going to have some ownership, especially like I think Trey Turner, Bryson Stott, and Schwarber should all be owned. So I like, specifically trying to maybe focus on not having all those guys and maybe including two of the lower owned guys if you're going to build a stack today. But they definitely are up there for me.
What's the weather in Chicago?
So it's this one. There is some. We're gonna have to recheck this one later because there's some rain and stuff, but it's blowing out pretty good. These teams, the total in this game is 11, which it probably would have been like 9. It's weird because I'm not sure exactly how much to expect. It's with Tyon, how much to expect from him, and then Michael Grove, I believe, is starting to find his stride a little bit. But I mean, it's going to be hard to ignore a Wrigley's win game on this slate. So it's just going to depend on whether or not we feel comfortable. I don't know if we can be comfortable using pitchers even with the weather and the fact that they're hard to know. I don't know. It's hard to know what to do. Both Grove and Tyon won't be particularly high owned. If you want to take a gamble on Tyon, I don't have an issue with that. Or Grove, to be honest, but it's a decent risk considering how much the wind's blowing out, and just gonna have to worry about weather. But these are probably going to rate for people as the two of the most popular stacks on the slate.
Listen, I mean, you told me when we first started doing baseball together. I mean that Colorado, sometimes you can fade, sometimes you can't. It's just hard to fade these big win games in Chicago. And I'm kind of in there today. I like both sides of this as far as the hitting goes, and only because there's no other pitching options would I probably end up sprinkling both these guys in MME, but for the most part, I'm just going to play the hitters.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm just trying to see what to do. Like the Tyon he threw 85 pitches. He just faced the Dodgers and he was good. I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do. But I like both sides, and early on they're not getting nearly as much ownership as they should. I guarantee you by later today, assuming this game is good to go, that these ownerships will be significantly higher Just there's no way that the highest total is going to be this low owned on this slate, especially because they're cheap. All right, San Diego at Arizona. Sheets, do you want to jump it off?
Yeah. So the aforementioned Fernando Tatis is 2K, and that's just way too cheap. He's a theoretical lock, but he's not an actual lock. Because it's baseball. What you probably are supposed to do, I mean, honestly, is play San Diego stacks and leave him out. That's probably what you're supposed to do. There's no way it's going to show up in any optimizer to do that. And no matter how you play, you're just going to end up. People are going to end up playing him, and because it's a great play mathematically. The question is he going to get there as commensurate with his ownership? Probably not. So I guess in GPPs, you probably want to avoid him. That's my instinct. With that said, I do like the Padres in and of themselves. So I'll probably end up doing something like that. And as far as the pitching, I have no problem with either of these guys. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I hate them both, but yet I have no problem with either of them on this slate, just to throw in alongside of Contreras. So that's probably what I'm going to do. Probably some San Diego with no Tatis, and then some, and maybe sprinkle the pitchers, I guess.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I actually think that I'm okay with taking a shot on Waka, but I'm just nervous about. I mean, we don't have really a lot of, like you said, there's not a whole lot of guys to consider, so we're gonna have to consider everyone. I do think because Tatis, they're gonna be popular. The weird thing is, with Bogarts priced at $5K, is he really gonna get only a third or a fourth? Only a third of the ownership of Tatis at the same position at the same team? So it is kind of interesting. I think that if you really wanted to get weird with it, you could play a San Diego stack and fade both Bogarts and Tatis. And I just don't think that's going to happen with anybody else, because I do think San Diego is going to be really popular. But I think everybody's playing one of those two guys, and almost all of them playing Tatis. I like San Diego. I just don't feel like if they end up the most popular team, which I think they're going to because of the situation, it's going to be hard for me to jump on board. And like you said, I would try to avoid the Tatis thing, especially as a one-off play, but it doesn't mean I won't have any of it at all tonight. But
this is what you're supposed to do. Is exactly what you just said. I mean, just play the other San Diego guys and fade both shortstops.
What's that?
And fade both shortstops.
Yeah, that's and yeah, maybe spend up for Dansby Swanson or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That seems like a reasonable route. I also think that we could make an argument here for Arizona. I'm going to double check the roof because that does play really big in Arizona. Roof open.
Who plays shortstop for the Dodgers now?
Well, right now they're mix and matching. It's been Vargas, not Vargas, Rojas and Vargas sometimes.
But now Rojas is on the IL.
Yeah, so Vargas and then what's it called? Today they're probably going to use. Yeah, I'm guessing it'll be Vargas that they use there again. Yeah, so the roof is open today in Arizona for what it's worth, which is better for the hitting. And I think both sides of this game. I do think Arizona is going to be low owned, and I kind of want my money back from yesterday. They got off to a good start, and I just couldn't get the right pieces. But I'm probably going to do my best not to stack as I did yesterday, and it worked out really well. Had a good chance and everything. Maybe to do either a 4-2-2 or a 3-3-2 kind of a thing, but not to fully stack. And I'm definitely considering Arizona. Some personal favorites would be Gurriel, Christian Walker, and Corbin Carroll. All right.
Another fun pivot, if you wanted to avoid Tatis and whatever, is to play Lindor in this next game. I'm not getting to much of any of the hitting here. They're all kind of secondary to me. I'd have to believe that Senga just has some raw points that you can get to. So I imagine that the pairing of Senga and Contreras is going to be the chalk. So I mean, my usual thing. If you can't, I wouldn't play Senga with Contreras with Tatis. You know what I mean? Like you got to get different somewhere. But just as far as raw points on a slate like this, I guess Senga's just, even though he's 10-3, I think he's probably what you want to do. I mean, certainly in cash, play him and Contreras together and be done with it. And as I was saying, I'm not getting the Mania, but I'm not getting to the Mets either. So I don't know. You like anything here?
I actually think the Mets are probably the correct answer of what to do. The most that sits with me, because for one, they're low ownership. The other, Mania has good stuff and has always been, but he's a very streaky guy, and he like when he gets blown up, he gets hit really, really, really hard. I don't think people are going to be playing the Mets. They have a team where pitchers who like Mania can get themselves into trouble, like getting deep in pitch counts too often. And I like the Mets righties.
Marte's out though. It sucks.
He's questionable, right?
I don't know. I guess so. I mean, they took him out of yesterday's game.
Well, I just think that, okay, so either way, if he's out, that's going to be, obviously that's a knock to the stack. But if I was to play one stack that I feel like I could just get different with on this slate, it would probably be the Mets, because I just feel like you're getting too much ownership on basically everything else to play like a full stack and get away with it. And I do think the Mets, if you get to Mania, they can put up a big number against him, because he really does get himself into trouble. And there's a lot of good righties in this Mets lineup. It's just a matter of whether or not, well, a lot of good, meaning I really want to play Marte, though. That's part of the problem.
But you could play Alonso, you could play Lindor switch hitter, you could play Pham.
Yeah, Alonso, Lindor, Pham for sure. Escobar also a switch hitter and never gets owned. Mark Hanna will probably be in there no matter what. So I'm okay. Like I just think I'm not probably going to be doing full 5-man stacks, but if I did, I think it would be the Mets just for an ownership play and to take a shot against Mania. Having said that, I do think, like you said, Senga is the natural combination for me is going to be Senga Contreras. But I do think that even though I made the argument for the Mets, especially if Marte's out, I think you could definitely make an argument for Mania. But I'm looking at early projections, and they seem to have him look way more popular than I would have thought, like 35% owned. That might be a little bit harder for me to talk myself into. So that's basically, again, full stacks. The Mets for me definitely want pieces of the Dodger Chicago game, Bellinger, Outman as the regular, just pieces of the regular cheapo guy or cheap-ish guys. And then I would go San Diego, Arizona, and then Philly. I might revisit Philly and see where their ownership is a little later, because I have a feeling they're going to be very popular, and they're not projecting that way. If it stays that way, Philly and the Mets are going to be what I probably try and do as full stacks go. How about you?
Yeah, Philly, San Diego, and the Dodger game. Those four. And then Marte out's rough. I don't know if I can get to them. As far as pitching goes, Senga, Contreras, I suppose. And try to get different somehow. Like so far, Contreras, if I play Contreras and Senga, then I probably can't really do any of the guys I want to go do. You know what I mean? Like Dodgers and Cubs are all going to be really popular. So maybe something like the Mets. Maybe something like the Mets. Or you mentioned maybe like researching a little more Arizona if you get the roof where you want it. Maybe that's an idea also.
Yeah, and just to throw in one more thing out there, just because I'm trying to find ways to get different here. Like, what about the idea of trying to take a shot against Senga?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
I think that's reasonable. So I'll throw San Francisco into one of my considerations.
Yeah,
but
why not?
I'll be a little bit more firm on this stuff later. It's always tricky because you're just trying to find ways to get different on these small slates, and that's sort of the name of the game. And just to answer, Champ asked a question in the Discord, in the chat here, saying, wondered if we take into account jet lag. I definitely take into account travel for things, more so NBA than I do for MLB. But yeah, I take into account travel. I don't really think jet lag is a real factor, though, because these guys, their hours are just different hours than what we all experience.
Joanne, you're plenty good enough to play the MLB.
But thank you for the kind words, Dre.
Joel, you're plenty good enough to play the MLB. The MLB is this. I hate to say this. The MLB is the same. You play hockey, right? I mean, the MLB is just the same as hockey. I mean, at its core level, it's a little harder because you have to be, you have to play the pitchers and all that stuff. But it's you pick a team to kind of key in on. Make sure it's not the highest owned team, and you could be somewhat competitive. I mean, really, you pick the best projected pitchers. And then you take your favorite stack that's kind of not the chalkiest stack on the board, and you're going to be competitive. Are you gonna smash? I mean that requires like anything else, a little more subtlety. But baseball's not baseball's a lot easier than the freaking NBA. I promise you that.
Tell you what, yeah, preach. I'm with you.
Yeah. So.
Totally hear you there. By the way, I'm just going to enter my early lineup build into this thing. Do you want to just really quickly, in case there's anybody live who's playing the early 2-game slate, should we just touch on it, or do you not have no interest?
Yeah, we can touch on it. It's seeing as I've spent this whole time without sharing my screen. I mean, that's now that I'm just noticed that.
Oh, my bad. I wasn't paying enough attention there. That's my
no, it's fine. Yeah, let's talk about that because you have hit the like button. Okay.
Oh yeah, we have to. We need to start reminding people more to do that. Hey, Rody, good to see you, man.
Yeah. So you have. I like Cortez, and then everybody else is kind of like whatever. I mean, I guess Cortez is my favorite pitcher as far as hitting goes. I don't know. You have an opinion here?
Yeah, I think that this is a very straightforward thing. Leave money on the table.
Oh, okay.
I really think it is one of those slates. Just completely leave money on the table. Forget about whether you want to stack or not. Try to go out of your way not to. Unfortunately, I actually did end up with a full stack, even when I was trying to go out of my way not to. But I prefer the Minnesota bats and the Yankee bats to the others. The question is just how do you do it? And for me, the best answer was to get different, was to leave money on the table. And I mean, like over 1,000, and play some of these cheap bats that you really don't need to. But if you're leaving money on the table, you're going to at least be a little bit different that way. As far as pitching, I would play Cortez, Maeda. I have no problem if you want to argue for Sandoval and Houck. You're not going to get. I think Maeda is the lowest owned pitcher, so that's why I wanted to play him. I think if you want to take a shot on a relief pitcher, you could do it, but it's probably a little bit thin. It's close, but it's probably a little bit too thin for me. But I like the Minnesota bats the best, but I think you can play them and leave money on the table pretty easily. And that's
Sandoval's a good play.
The problem is he's going to be like all the guys are 50% except for Maeda, I think, or maybe even higher. And I'll play Maeda a little bit ahead of these guys. I actually believe in Maeda being a better pitcher. And as I keep mentioning, this is not your uncle. It's not your grandfather. It's not your uncle's Red Sox. This is not the team that was winning World Series and stuff. These guys are a whole different level of bad, and they're going to be very bad all year long.
The other thing again is just if you're going to play this slate, the 2-gamer, make note of the stagger. It's a 135 and a 405, and don't be afraid again if things are just kind of like not progressing the way you want in the 135 games to kind of juice it up a little bit in the 405. Like if you were going to play say Sandoval, and a good hitter, things aren't going your way. Maybe you want to make it Maeda instead. You know what I mean? And go to and pay down somewhere. So again, that is clearly the part of my game that is the weakest. It's only weak because I don't do it. You know what I mean? I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. I just get busy and I just don't do it.
Right.
But you definitely give up a lot by not being cognizant of it. You don't always have to change, but I find it difficult to believe that your lineups, given information that's been presented to you, should be the same. You know what I mean? I have to think that they should be somewhat different. I don't exactly know how to be different, but I do promise you that if I have a big freaking smash in the first stack, that, and then I had like all kinds of craziness in the later games. I would tighten it up. You know what I mean?
Right.
I would tighten it up, you know, and if and that's like one thing that you can definitely do. So, like I said, hashtag need an intern, but that's definitely something you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really think you can pick out plays on a slate like today, and not have to. I mean, it's just 2 games, so just some of the favorites that might be a little bit overlooked. Rendon, even if you're playing Cortez, I think is a good idea. I like the price and position, and I just don't think that many people are. I mean, if you take, I think this is totally fine to take multiple hitters against your pitcher today, and I have no issue with it whatsoever. Especially if you take a guy with a little bit of speed upside, like Volpe. If you're playing Sandoval, is completely fine. For example, you know what I mean. And maybe you play Volpe and Judge with Sandoval on the other side. Like, I think that's totally reasonable just with the way this slate is. So I would say multiple hitters against your pitcher and leaving money on the table are the best strategic ways to go. My favorite team is the Red Sox. I'm sorry, is the Twins. And my favorite pitcher, because he's the lowest owned, is Maeda, along with Cortez. Jolly says he wants one. That's awesome, Sandoval 110K. He got me the 6 figures one night. Yeah, but it was one of those monster slates where there's no way the 6K pitcher can get there, and he ends up throwing like 8 innings with 12 Ks, kind of a thing, and just got that miracle.
Maybe I'll play him today and win 10K my own goddamn self.
There you go. Yeah, why not? Are you in that 333?
I am. I don't know what I'm playing it yet, but I'm gonna do something.
They're in there. All right. Do you want to do a quick NBA after we close this real quick?
Yeah, sure.
All right. I think it'd be fun. Yeah.